Welcome to Target 5, which is dealing with Venn diagrams. Now, most of the time when you do Target 5 questions, you're going to be asked to draw your own Venn diagram. Target 6 is where a Venn diagram is typically given, and you're going to be using the symbols to figure out your answer. But it's a mix of both, and they're all Venn diagram skills, which are good to have. So as we look at this question, it says, given the Venn diagram, answer the questions about the students taking math. Right now you've got everything filled in, which is kind of nice. I have a feeling most of the time when you do a question like this, though, you do need to understand the skill of what if they just told you that the number of kids taking geometry was 313, the number of kids taking algebra 2 was 285, and then they also told you there are 98 kids taking both. Basically what would happen if you had that information given to you, remember, the key is you always fill in this and little football kind of shaped region right here. This is the and that has to get filled in first because those become members of both. Fill that in first, so you put the 98 right there. So the 98 would go there. Then I would take 98 off of both of these numbers. 98 off of 313 makes 215. 98 off of 285 makes 187. And therefore, this Venn diagram would show if there were 313 kids taking geometry, 285 taking algebra, 98 take both, you put that in there and subtract those off, and now you've got your numbers. Then if you add those three numbers together, if you take the 215, the 98, and the 187, that's the total number of kids that you have. So if I go in and I say, okay, well now I'm going to take 215, so 215 plus 98 plus 187, I get my total of 500. So that would mean that there are 500 kids altogether taking geometry and algebra 2. So 500 would be this number totaled up. Now what's interesting is it also says that there are 1,000 students total. Well, if there's 500 inside these circles, I kind of got lucky by writing this 500 right here, because what we're supposed to do is if we know the totals that are in the circles, then what's outside the circles is there is another 500 kids, because 500 plus 500 makes 1,000. There's 500 kids sitting outside these circles that aren't taking algebra 2 or geometry, they're taking some other math class. And so that's a way to show it. You put the 500 out there and then it equals your total. And then you can go over and answer questions. Now, Venn diagrams come down to being able to just, find those quantities. How many people are taking geometry but not algebra 2? So that means they're in geometry but they can't be in algebra 2. So we'd cover up algebra 2 completely, and that answer would be 215. There's 215 kids taking geometry that are not taking algebra 2. We just thumb that over, cover that up. How many students are not taking geometry or algebra 2? Well, they can't be in here or in here. Well, that's that 500 sitting on the outside. So that's 500. How many students are there not taking geometry? Well, geometries, I got to cover those up. That's 187. Those kids are not taking geometry, but there's also another 500 on the outside. 187 plus 500 is 687 are not taking geometry. They're taking algebra 2 and something else. How many students are taking both geometry and algebra 2 at the same time? And we know that being the overlapping region, that 98 is the magic number there. So you're looking at overlaps for ands, you're taking everything for an or.